My name is Matthew, and I'm about to tell you a story that changed my life forever. Maybe after this tale you'll look at people in uniforms differently. This isn't just another story about infidelity, it's about discovering that the person you trusted most was living a double life that would shock even the most cynical among us. My wife Melinda worked as a train conductor for 5 years. We got married right after she finished her training courses. Back then it seemed like the perfect job for her. She loved traveling, meeting new people, and the work schedule allowed us to spend long weekends together. Those were the days when I believed in fairy tales and happy endings. I worked as a mechanic at an auto shop on the outskirts of town. Regular job, regular life. Or at least that's what I thought. Looking back now, I realize how naive I was. How blind love can make you to the obvious signs that your world is crumbling around you. The first warning bell started ringing about 6 months ago. Melinda began working longer routes more frequently. At first, I was even happy about it. More money, better prospects for our future. We talked about buying a house, maybe starting a family. But then I noticed how she changed after these trips. She would come back, different. Not tired as usual, but somehow energized, as if invisible electricity was radiating from her. When I asked about work, she would answer briefly and quickly change the subject. Her eyes would dart away, and she'd suddenly become very interested in checking her phone or organizing something in the kitchen. But the strangest thing happened 3 months ago, and that's when my world started to unravel in ways I never could have imagined. I drove to the train station to meet Melinda after another shift. I stood by the exit, waiting for the familiar silhouette in the blue uniform that I had kissed goodbye so many mornings. And suddenly I saw her. She was getting off the train with a man in an expensive suit. They were laughing, and he gently touched her hand in a way that made my stomach drop. When she saw me, the expression on her face changed instantly. The man quickly walked away, and Melinda approached me with a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Just a regular passenger, thanking me for good service," she replied, but she wouldn't meet my gaze. I wanted to believe her, but something in her behavior troubled me. However, I couldn't even imagine back then how deep this rabbit hole would go. If someone had told me the truth that day, I would have laughed in their face and called them crazy. The following weeks, I started paying attention to small details. Melinda had acquired new things, an expensive dress that she'd bought on sale, gold earrings that a colleague had given her, a new perfume that smelled nothing like anything she'd ever worn before. She started looking in the mirror more often and seemed to be getting ready for work with extra care. But the real discovery was waiting ahead of me. One day, while cleaning the closet, I accidentally knocked over her work bag. Several pieces of paper fell out with phone numbers and signatures: Jake, car 15. Then another one, Thomas, compartment 7. And another, Brian, luxury suite. My heart started beating faster. What did this mean? Were these just work contacts? But why would passengers give her their numbers? And why did she keep them in her personal bag instead of work files? I decided to act carefully. The next time Melinda went on a trip, I drove to the train station in another city where her train was headed. I bought a ticket for the train that followed hers, telling myself I was probably being paranoid, but needing to know the truth. What I saw and heard on that train completely turned my understanding of my wife upside down and inside out. Standing in the restaurant car, I accidentally overheard a conversation between two conductors. They were discussing special services that some of their colleagues provided to wealthy passengers for extra payment. They mentioned Melinda by name. "That redhead from the 4th route? She's a real professional," said one of them with a knowing smirk. "Passengers specifically buy tickets for her trains. The company doesn't even suspect how much she earns on the side. Some guys travel her route twice a week just for her attention." I felt the ground disappear from under my feet. My legs went weak and I had to grab the table to steady myself. This couldn't be real. This had to be some misunderstanding, some cruel joke. But the worst was yet to come. Returning home, I decided to have an open conversation with Melinda. However, she turned out to be smarter than I thought and more calculating than I had ever imagined. "Matthew, I know you suspect something," she said when she returned from another trip before I could even open my mouth. "Let's talk openly." And then she told me the truth, which turned out to be even worse than my worst suspicions. The woman I had shared a bed with, planned a future with, loved with all my heart, was a complete stranger. It turned out that Melinda wasn't just cheating on me with individual passengers. She had created an entire network, a well-organized business operation. She had regular clients, businessmen who regularly traveled her routes. She provided them with escort services right in the train car while other passengers were sleeping, or in private compartments during longer routes. It started by accident, she explained with cold calm, as if she was discussing the weather. One man offered money just for company during a long night trip. He was lonely, going through a divorce, and just wanted someone to talk to. But then it evolved into something more. Then others appeared. Word of mouth, you know? Now I have a stable income, 3 times more than my official salary. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The woman sitting across from me, still in her conductor's uniform, was describing a life I never knew existed. But how? When? Where? I stammered. She laughed, actually laughed. Matthew, you're so naive. Do you think I check tickets for 8 hours straight? There are plenty of opportunities on long routes. Empty compartments, private sleeping cars, late night hours when most passengers are asleep. Some men pay just for conversation and companionship, others want more. I provide whatever they're willing to pay for. And what about our marriage? What about me? I asked, feeling my voice crack. Matthew, it's just work. You don't get jealous of all the cars you repair, do you? This is no different. It's a service, a business transaction. I come home to you every time. The coldness in her voice completely destroyed me. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't even a person I recognized. But the biggest blow was still ahead. Melinda said she wasn't planning to stop. Moreover, she suggested that I join the business, become her bodyguard and meeting organizer. Think about the money we could make together, she said, her eyes lighting up with an excitement that made me sick. We could buy a house, a car, travel the world. I could expand to other routes, maybe even other cities. We could build an empire. At that moment, I realized that the wife I loved no longer existed. Maybe she never existed at all. The person sitting in front of me was a stranger wearing Melinda's face. The next few days I thought about what to do. Divorce seemed like an obvious decision, but I wanted Melinda to understand the full depth of her fall from grace. I wanted consequences that matched the scope of her betrayal. And then an idea struck me. A plan that would ensure she faced real consequences for what she had done, not just to me but to her job, her reputation, and her future. I spent 3 days gathering evidence. I still had those pieces of paper with phone numbers that had fallen from her bag. I managed to track down some of the clients through social media, wealthy businessmen who traveled frequently and posted about their trips. I even found some who had posted photos from trains, some with subtle hints about excellent service and memorable journeys. Then I wrote a letter to the management of the railway company. Not an ordinary complaint, but a detailed report with photographs of the notes with phone numbers that I had saved, and descriptions of the additional services. I included contacts of some clients that I had managed to track down, along with evidence of their regular travel on Melinda's routes. The letter was 10 pages long, meticulously detailed, with dates, times, and specific incidents. I explained how this operation worked, how it put the company at risk for lawsuits and license revocation, and how it was happening under their noses. At the same time, I contacted a lawyer and filed for divorce. I wanted everything to hit her at once, like a freight train she never saw coming. I also did something else. I created anonymous accounts on social media and posted in railway employee groups, subtly asking about inappropriate conduct and whether anyone had noticed anything suspicious. I planted seeds of doubt and concern that would grow into a full investigation. A week later, Melinda was fired from her job. The internal investigation revealed violations that could have cost the company its license. Several high-ranking officials also suffered consequences for concealing the situation. 3 other conductors were suspended pending investigation. But that wasn't all. The story somehow leaked to local news outlets. Railway scandal. Conductor fired for inappropriate services, became headline news for 3 days. Melinda's photo was everywhere, though they blurred her face in most publications. When she came home the day she was fired, she saw the divorce papers on the kitchen table, along with printouts of all the news articles. "You destroyed my life," she screamed, her face red with rage and humiliation. "No, Melinda. You destroyed it yourself. I just showed the truth to the world." Her mask finally fell completely. The composed, calculating woman disappeared, replaced by someone desperate and furious. "You have no idea what you've done," she hissed. "Those men, they weren't just random passengers. Some of them have connections, power. Do you think they'll just forget about this? Do you think there won't be consequences?" For a moment, I felt a chill of fear. But then I realized she was just trying to manipulate me one last time. "If that's true, then you should have thought about that before you dragged me into your mess," I replied. "Any consequences now are yours to face alone." The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Melinda didn't have resources for a prolonged legal battle, and the evidence was overwhelming. Her lawyer advised her to accept the terms rather than fight a case she couldn't win. During the proceedings, more details came to light. Financial records showed deposits to her personal account that far exceeded her salary. Text messages retrieved from her phone revealed the extent of her client network. It wasn't just men on trains, she had connections in hotels, other transportation services, even some high-end restaurants where she would meet clients during her layovers. The scope of her deception was breathtaking. This wasn't just cheating, it was a sophisticated operation that had been going on for over 2 years. Every kiss, every "I love you," every plan we made for our future, all of it was built on lies. I learned that she had been using our joint savings account to fund her activities, buying expensive lingerie, perfumes, even renting hotel rooms when needed. Money I thought was going toward our future home was actually supporting her double life. The final hearing was surreal. Melinda sat across the courtroom, no longer the confident woman I had married. Her reputation was destroyed, her career over, and her network of wealthy clients had vanished the moment the scandal broke. Some of them were married men who couldn't afford to be connected to such a story. When the judge granted the divorce, Melinda looked at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over," she whispered as we left the courthouse. "Yes, it is," I replied. "It was over the moment you decided that our marriage was worth less than money from strangers." The last time I saw her was at the train station. She was waiting for a bus to another city with just one suitcase in her hands. The once proud woman in a beautiful uniform now looked like a broken shadow of herself. She noticed me and approached, but this time there was no anger in her eyes, just defeat. "Matthew, she started, but I interrupted her. "Don't. We both know the truth now. There's nothing left to say." "You'll never understand," she said quietly. "You'll never understand what it's like to have power over men who have everything. To be desired by people who could buy and sell you. For the first time in my life I felt valuable, important." "You were valuable," I said. "You were important. To me. But that wasn't enough for you, was it?" She didn't answer. The bus arrived and Melinda drove away forever. 6 months have passed since then. I still work as a mechanic, still live in the same house. But everything has changed. Trust in people, belief in love, the ability to build relationships. All of this needs to be restored from scratch. Sometimes friends ask if I regret what I did. The answer is always the same: no. Melinda made her choice when she turned our marriage into a farce and her job into a cover for betrayal. But sometimes, in quiet moments, I wonder if I could have done something different, been someone different, that might have prevented all of this. The house feels empty now. Not just because she's gone, but because I realize it was always empty. The woman I thought lived here was just a character she played when she wasn't working. The real Melinda was someone I never truly knew. I started therapy, trying to work through the betrayal and the anger. My therapist says I show signs of PTSD, nightmares, anxiety attacks, inability to trust. She says it's normal for someone who discovered that their entire reality was a lie. Dating seems impossible now. How do you trust again when you've learned that the person who knew you best was living a completely different life? How do you believe someone's words when you've heard the most convincing lies for years? My friends try to set me up, saying I need to get back out there. But they don't understand. This wasn't just infidelity. This was systematic deception on a scale that redefined everything I thought I knew about human nature and about love. I've joined a support group for people who've experienced betrayal. Hearing other stories helps sometimes. There's a man whose wife was stealing money to support a gambling addiction. A woman whose husband had an entirely separate family in another state. Each story is different, but the pain is the same: the shattering realization that the person you trusted most was capable of elaborate, sustained deception. The railway company faced a lawsuit from several passengers who claimed they were inappropriately approached or made uncomfortable during their travels. The scandal reached national news, leading to policy changes and additional training for all employees. Sometimes I drive past the train station and watch the trains come and go. I think about all the lives intersecting for brief moments, all the secrets being carried from city to city. How many other Melindas are out there, I wonder? How many other Matthews are living in blissful ignorance? That piece of paper with the phone number that I found in her bag that day? It's still in my wallet as a reminder that even the closest people can hide terrible secrets. But now it serves another purpose. It reminds me that I had the strength to seek the truth, even when that truth destroyed everything I believed about my life. I've learned that love isn't just about trust. It's about truly knowing the person you're with. And that's harder than I ever imagined. People are capable of compartmentalizing their lives in ways that seem almost inhuman. The woman who made me breakfast every morning was the same person who was selling herself to strangers on trains. How do you reconcile that? The divorce settlement was finalized last month. I kept the house, most of our savings, what little was left, and our dog, Max. Melinda kept her secrets, her shame, and whatever connection she still had in whatever new life she was trying to build. I heard through mutual friends that she moved to a different state and is working in a completely different field, retail, I think. No more trains, no more uniforms, no more opportunities for the kind of entrepreneurship she had developed. Sometimes I wonder if she misses it, or if she's found new ways to monetize her ability to deceive. The hardest part isn't the betrayal itself. It's the realization that I was living with a stranger for years. Every memory is now tainted with the knowledge of what she was really doing, what she was really thinking when she smiled at me and said she loved me. But there's something else I've learned in these months of healing. I discovered that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the complete destruction of my reality and came out the other side. Damaged, yes, but not destroyed. Changed, absolutely, but maybe in some ways for the better. I no longer take people at face value. I ask more questions, pay attention to inconsistencies, trust but verify. Some might call it cynicism, but I call it wisdom earned through pain. Now, when I see trains passing by our town, I don't think about the romance of travel anymore. I think about how much deception can fit in one train car, how many lies can travel hundreds of miles without ever being discovered. But I also think about truth, how it always finds a way to surface, no matter how deeply it's buried. The story doesn't have a happy ending, and I'm okay with that. Real life rarely does. But it has an honest ending, and after years of living a lie, honesty feels like a luxury I can finally afford. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Maybe YouTube will no longer offer you my channel, so subscribe to it by clicking subscribe on the right under the video to receive new interesting stories. Also on the right of the video there is a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to, and you can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.